Back in the early 1980s, when I first started working as a psychologist, very little was known about the psychology of eating. Treatment and research in this area was in the very early stages. And I saw so many women who felt totally out of control with food. Even those without full-blown eating disorders were afraid there was something terribly wrong with them because they just couldn't stop.
All I ever thought about was, what was I going to eat? What was I not going to eat? When was I going to exercise? How was I going to make sure that I looked perfect? And I really didn't think about anything else ever. I didn't have energy for anything else.
I've suffered from some form of disordered eating for pretty much the entirety of my life.
I had very little hope.
I have struggled with disordered eating probably since I was at least 14, probably before then. At least when I was 14, that's when I became actively bulimic.
My journey through residential treatment, crisis hospitalization, and far too many outpatient appointments to count seemed to testify that there was something very flawed about who I was.
Since really long time, maybe 2-3 decades. I was suffering from eating disorders, coming from a strong and severe anorexia till bulimia.
I had tried pretty much every single diet, every single fad diet, books about being healthy, being strong, everything I tried, everything that was out there I tried.
I had done a lot of therapy, I'd done everything under the sun, every group under the sun, but I still felt like I didn't have a sense of ease. I didn't feel completely comfortable with myself. My binging and purging had almost gone, but I didn't feel in my heart that I had really cleared the eating disorder.
I discovered that total, complete recovery was totally possible if you could get to the underlying issues. I wrote a book called Eating in the Light of the Moon about how to break free and transform your relationship with food, which has now been published in 7 languages.
So I first read Eating in the Light of the Moon.
I read Eating in the Light of the Moon.
The biggest breakthroughs I had were in terms of Anita's work from Eating in the Light of the Moon.
I read the book, which it was a suggestion of a therapist of mine.
I ended up reading her book, which I really enjoyed.
When I read Anita's book, it sort of opened up a new door for me to understand myself.
I read the book Eating the Light of the Moon. I fell in love with this book and I fell in love with Anita's work.
And I really started using that book to help me figure out what the cause of my disordered eating was and sort of come to a new understanding of myself.
I found Anita Johnston and I found her book Eating in the Light of the Moon, and I read it and I read it and I read it.
For years, I kept getting requests for a workbook for Eating in the Light of the Moon, but I just couldn't figure out a creative, inspiring way to do that until my friend, dietitian Elizabeth Peterson, who had been running Eating in the Light of the Moon support group, said to me, "Do you think we could create something online?" Well, this was over 11 years ago, and no one was doing anything like that. But I got really excited and said, well, let's try. And so the Light of the Moon Cafe was born.
I joined the Light of the Moon Cafe because my eating disorder was a mystery. I still didn't really understand it to the degree that I wanted to.
And through the Light of the Moon Cafe, I have discovered so much. I mean, it's just like a daily feast.
The tools and metaphors presented there allowed me to see my eating disorder through a different lens.
When I took the course originally, I thought it would just be a refresher. Honestly, I really didn't think I would learn anything that was new to me or I'd gain any new insights, and I was actually really wrong.
I was finally able to understand the root of my struggles with food and weight.
And I've begun to see the skills that I need to develop and how to develop them.
Helping me understand that my eating disorder wasn't a further proof of my defectiveness, which I wholeheartedly believed in, but that it was really coming from a place of intelligence inside of me that helped me survive when I didn't know how else to survive.
And I was able, little by little, to release my disorder with the confidence that I would have the support and skills I needed to survive without it.
I came into it thinking that I wasn't really going to get anything new, and then I came out actually finally for the first time in over 20 years getting, I think, closer to the answer of what is actually causing my disordered eating.
It was incredible. I discovered it was possible to create a virtual women's circle online, a whole community of women from all over the world coming together to support each other in transforming their relationships with food and healing their lives.
I also founded The Cafe, a community of women that supported me as I learned to use my voice to tell my story, the whole story, without shame.
It was so nice to be in a group of women, in a circle of women which can support each other and understand each other.
Being in the cafe, working with Anita and the other women has given me a tremendous amount of hope.
The help of the group, it was like an embrace.
I finally felt less alone.
All the women in the class and Anita herself, they never made me feel dumb, or they just made me feel like I was doing the right thing, I was on the right path, I was getting it.
I know that I've come so far, and I know that there is recovery out there for me.
I think my life has changed, obviously for the better. I can say that I have recovered.
I'm a woman who is proud to say I recovered from an eating disorder and have healed my struggles with food and weight.
I can say hand on heart that I have cleared my eating disorder 100%.
It profoundly changed my life.
Because recovery is real. My energy goes to so many other things in my life, and I get to think about food when I'm hungry, and I move my body to stay strong because I want to feel good. But other than that, I don't think about exercising. I don't think about needing to look a certain way so that I can be accepted. My energy is really on being my true self, living from there, and it has changed my life.
I'm here to let you know that recovery from struggles with eating and body image is totally 100% possible. I know thousands of women who have done it. It doesn't matter how long you've struggled or how many things you've tried. Once you understand the underlying forces that drive the disordered eating, you can learn the skills you need to respond differently. And by the way, they're just skills like learning to drive a car or ride a bike or swim. Anyone can learn them with a little bit of practice. And this is how you put disordered eating out of a job.